But first, Anthony Albanese's plan to recognise a Palestinian state next month today collapsed into farce. The Prime Minister and his Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, have been humiliated, totally unable to explain how their bizarre plan would work. More embarrassing is that they have been clueless about how to stop terrorists taking over the new state. Plus, there's even more evidence that the Palestinian leader they trust to form this state is a corrupt, Jew-hating, America-hating liar who's hated even by Palestinians and is making promises to Albanese he will not keep. Let me first set the scene again. One half of Albanese's planned Palestinian state is Gaza and the other the West Bank. But Gaza is ruled by the Hamas terrorists who started this war by massacring 1,200 Israelis and taking 251 hostages, some of whom they hold even now. And the West Bank is ruled by Mahmoud Abbas. He's the 89-year-old president of the Palestinian Authority and head of the Fatah party created by terrorist Yasser Arafat. And Abbas hasn't held an election in almost 20 years. And what a character he is. Abbas is not just famously corrupt. He doesn't just defend Hitler for massacring 6 million Jews. He's also praised the now dead leader of Hamas, and he hates America.
هذه هي أمريكا هي الطاعون والطاعون أمريكا.
Now that is the man that Albanese trusts to create his Palestinian state. And that's the man who Albanese says promised to someday meet Albanese's conditions for recognising this state. Pinky promised he'd now demilitarise the Palestinians, he'd stop paying pensions to terrorists, he'd hold elections for the first time in nearly 20 years, and he wouldn't let Hamas take over instead. And Albanese actually believes him. But as I said last night, what if Abbas breaks all these promises that Abbas didn't even think worth mentioning in his official readout of his long chat about all this with Albanese last week? Well, Penny Wong last night on the ABC certainly had no answer to that basic question. What will Australia do if this Abbas character had just lied to them, again making promises he won't and can't actually keep?
You said that you will do that if certain conditions are met. That's what the Prime Minister said. What happens if those conditions are not met? Will you still recognise Palestine in September?
What we have said is that we will recognise Palestine in September. We've also said that that recognition is based on the commitments we have from the Palestinian Authority. We will work with others to hold the Palestinian Authority to those commitments.
If those commitments are not met, will the Australian government still recognise a Palestinian state at the UN in September?
We have said we will recognise a Palestinian state at the UN in September. What we will also do is work with the international community to hold the Palestinian Authority to its commitments.
Here you go. I mean, we'll recognise a Palestinian state next month and expect then, it's all on a promise for these reforms, these conditions to be met after that. But by this morning, Wong still had no answer to how this government would make Abbas then live up to those promises. Reform, disarm, stop Hamas. How they would make him live up to them after we recognise this Palestinian state next month.
Is the PA the right body to work with?
There is a lot of reform of the Palestinian Authority which is required. We are clear-eyed about that.
This is just incredible. In fact, no Labor MP that I heard today, and I heard 3 or 4, had any clue how these conditions would be enforced. I mean, Ed Husick, a Muslim Labor MP, who's been at Albanese for months and months and months to recognise this Palestinian state, today even suggested that Hamas would simply lay down their arms voluntarily, goodness of their heart. I mean, what idiot would believe this?
You spoke about demilitarising Hamas. Can you tell me how you actually would envisage that happening? How does that happen except for defeating them militarily?
Again, that will be something that will need to happen as a result of agreements on the ground.
To say that they're going to give up their weapons. I can understand the scepticism around that.
So that scepticism is always, you look at most places where self-determination has come as a result of a pretty bloody struggle in different parts of the world, Kieran, that is always going to be a challenge at the outset, and it's hard to imagine it early on, but it does require cooperation and enforcement. Those details clearly haven't been settled at this point.
Oh, wait. Husick did mention just at the end enforcement. But Ed, enforcement by whom? I mean, we won't be sending soldiers. Who's going to make them? You know, at most we're going to send Hamas just a stiff letter of complaint. How dare you not obey all these agreements we thought we had? As for the Greens, by the way, they don't even want us to ask the Palestinians to stop Hamas from taking over. Here's Deputy Leader Mehreen Faruqi today.
The reality is that I don't think it's Australia's place to dictate the conditions of another people's self-determination.
What can you say about the Greens? What can you say about them? Then there's Albanese and Wong's pie-in-the-sky plan for elections for this new state. The elections that Abbas promised Albanese he'd finally hold after nearly 20 years of actually saying no. Well, there's a reason for that, because there's no way Abbas would hold free elections, and nor would Albanese really want them, not when he saw the result. You see, a recent poll of Palestinians by the Palestinian Centre for Policy and Survey Research, based in the West Bank, a poll done with the help of the Dutch, found that Hamas is easily the most popular party in Palestine. It would win. In fact, more than 80% of Palestinians polled want Abbas to resign. They want Albanese's preferred leader to actually quit. But Albanese today waved away this evidence that Hamas was most likely to win the election that is demanded, just like Hamas won the last one that Abbas dared to call.
I'm not sure how you poll in Gaza at the moment. It would be an interesting exercise. But what people in Gaza want clearly is for peace.
Oh, just answered with some snark. But look, Prime Minister, if you really were interested in how this poll in the West Bank and Gaza was done, there's actually a long explanation of just that on the pollster's page. All that Albanese needs to do is to look. But he won't, because he just doesn't want to know that he trusts a Palestinian leader who Palestinians don't. And is recognising a state that Hamas would most likely control. And all this just shows how Albanese and Wong are totally out of their depth, just as the opposition leader said today.
It rewards them and it emboldens them. And they have made that clear by saying that these decisions around the world are the fruit of their hideous actions on October the 7th. And that is to their shame.
It's a plan that rewards terrorists, and Albanese and Wong have a plan they cannot explain. A plan that can only help those terrorists and hurt Israel. And my question now is this: why don't they even care?